Rain pattered softly on the iron roof of Elias Coran's farmhouse, the sound a steady whisper against the silence of the fields. He sat alone at his kitchen table, the mug in his hand long gone cold. A hollow frame flickered on the wall, his late wife Mara smiling in the orchard that no longer bloomed. 3 years had passed since the accident. 3 years of quiet mornings and lonelier nights. Outside, thunder rolled across the horizon, and the skies burned with the streak of descending ships. The galactic convoy was arriving, the delegation from Valora Prime. Elias barely glanced up. The nearest town was holding some grand reception. All anyone could talk about was the arrival of the alien princess, Lorali of Valora. He'd heard the gossip on the Trader's Channel. Ugly, scaled, inhuman. Elias had seen enough war to know beauty and ugliness meant little. He returned to his cup, unaware that fate was about to lead that so-called ugly princess straight to his door. The crash came near midnight, a concussive boom that shook the windows and sent his old dog, Rust, into a barking frenzy. Elias grabbed his coat and rifle, stepping into the storm. The fields were shrouded in mist, but through the rain he saw the fire, a broken shuttle half buried in the mud, its metal hissing with steam. "Hello," he shouted, pushing through the heat and smoke. Something moved inside. A figure, tall, slender, trembling. When she stepped into the rain light, he froze. Her skin shimmered like wet bronze, scales catching the light with a faint green hue. Her eyes were enormous, gold and slitted, filled with fear. Her right arm hung limp, and blood, iridescent blue, ran down her side. "Please," she rasped, voice like wind through reeds. "Help me." Elias lowered his rifle immediately. "You're hurt. Come on, I'll get you out of here." He didn't care that she wasn't human. He wrapped her in his coat and half carried her back to the farmhouse. By dawn, the storm had passed. Lorali lay on his old couch, breathing shallowly. Elias had cleaned her wounds and bandaged her arm with trembling hands. Her face was unlike any he'd ever seen, beautiful in its strangeness. She had no hair, only smooth ridges that curved back like a crown. Her scales glimmered faintly with every breath. When her eyes opened again, he was sitting at her side, watching her quietly. "You're safe," he said softly. "Shuttle's down, but we'll send word to your people soon as the lines open." She blinked, confused. "You are not afraid?" He smiled faintly. "Of you? No. I've seen worse company in war zones." That made her lips, thin and dark, twitch in what might have been a smile. It was 3 days before the comms cleared. In that time, Elias learned that she was indeed Lorali of Valora, the youngest daughter of the Valoran royal house, sent on a diplomatic mission to the Terran Alliance. The shuttle crash had been sabotage. Someone wanted her dead. "I can't contact the local authorities," she murmured one evening. "I don't know who to trust." "Then stay here," Elias said simply. "You're safe on my land." Her eyes widened. "You would risk your life for me." He hesitated. "You needed help. My wife would have done the same." At the mention of his wife, a shadow crossed his face. Lorali said nothing, but later, when he dozed by the fireplace, she studied the hollow frame on the mantel. The woman in it was smiling, full of life. And she saw then that Elias's kindness was not out of duty. It came from a heart that had once loved deeply and still did. Days became weeks. Lorali helped around the farm despite her injured arm, fascinated by human crops, animals, and the simplicity of life there. She learned to feed the chickens, to coax Rust with bits of jerky, and even to laugh when the goats stole her headscarf. At first, Elias watched her like one might watch a strange creature, curious, uncertain. But slowly he began to notice things. The way her eyes softened when the wind brushed over the fields. The way her voice hummed when she thought no one listened, a melody like starlight over water. The way her presence filled the house with a quiet peace he hadn't felt in years. One evening, as they sat watching the twin moons rise, she said softly, "They call me hideous, you know." He frowned. "Ooh, my own people. My scales are darker than my sister's. My eyes are too sharp, my ridges uneven. Even here," the Terrans whisper, "the ugly princess of Allura. I hear them." Elias turned to her, his gaze steady. "Lorali, you're not ugly." Her golden eyes flicked up, searching his face. "You don't have to say that. I'm not saying it to be kind," he replied quietly. "I'm saying it because it's true." Silence settled between them, deep and fragile. Then for the first time, she smiled, really smiled. And it changed everything. By the fourth week, rumors began to spread. Someone had seen the princess in the southern farmlands. The saboteurs were hunting. Elias knew at the moment he saw the glint of engines in the distance. He pushed Lorali toward the cellar. "Stay down there. Don't come out till I say." But Elias, he didn't let her finish. No arguments. "Go." She obeyed, but not before touching his hand briefly, warm and trembling. The attackers came at dusk. 3 of them, armored and masked. They demanded to know where the Valoran creature was hiding. Elias stood in the doorway, rifle steady. "You boys lost," he drawled. They didn't laugh. The first one stepped forward, and Elias shot him square in the shoulder. The others opened fire, plasma bolts ripping through the old wood. He ducked, rolled, and returned fire. The fight was brutal and short. When it was over, 2 lay dead, and the 3rd crawled off into the fields, leaving a trail of blood and curses. When Lorali emerged, her eyes filled with tears. "You could have died. Would have been worth it," he said, wiping soot from his cheek. "Can't lose another woman I care about." She froze, her breath catching. Elias. He met her gaze. No words followed, but the air between them changed, thick with something new and fragile and real. The next morning, the royal fleet arrived. Lorali's people came in gleaming ships, armed escorts and diplomats swarming his modest farm. They thanked Elias formally, offering him a reward. He refused, but when Lorali approached, wrapped in her ceremonial robes of gold and bronze, she didn't speak as a princess. She spoke as a woman torn between 2 worlds. "I must return," she whispered. "My people need me." He nodded slowly, forcing a smile. "You've got a kingdom waiting, princess." She stepped closer. "And what waits for you, Elias Quran?" He hesitated. "Just memories." Her golden eyes glimmered. "Then may I leave you one worth keeping?" And before he could speak, she kissed him, softly, tenderly. Her lips were cool, tasting faintly of rain and copper. When she drew back, tears shimmered in her eyes. "Thank you," she whispered, "for seeing me." Then she was gone, lifted into the sky with her retinue, leaving behind the echo of engines and the scent of scorched grass. Months passed. The farm healed, the fields green again. Elias worked the soil and fed the animals, but every evening he'd look to the stars. The hollow frame on the wall still glowed faintly, but beside it now stood a new one, a gift delivered months after her departure. It showed a Valoran meadow beneath twin suns, and in the center, Lorali smiled, her scales radiant, her eyes full of life. Beneath the image, an inscription in both Terran and Valoran read. He saw beauty where none dared to look, and taught a princess what love truly is. Elias smiled softly each time he read it, and though he never left Earth again, every night he'd whisper toward the stars, knowing somewhere out there, beneath a pair of suns, an alien princess looked back at the same sky and smiled too.